right now the many peoples are creating the colonies right there. And there's a bit of a problem apparently, because there's also a spreading ice. They have been spreading for a while actually. It's been spreading and spreading, and no one knows why. And so humans decided to create a wall, but they don't know what type of wall. They decided to create a mushroom wall to stop it, and it actually kind of works. Because apparently the mushrooms can actually stop the growth of it, and so as soon as it grows, it stopped growing. So helped, and so the and so the and so all of the and so all of the so then all the plants started growing back. Yeah. Well, meanwhile, the Imperium is just wincing seeing mushrooms on the ground, and yeah. But there's a new problem now, because at this point we got the Holy Kingdom, the only kingdom in the nation of in the only kingdom in the Great Cold, and right now they have been apart from the only world. They have been apart, and population has been growing exponentially, and they decided to allow gangsters in. And gangsters, there is a lot of gangsters and mugs and other dealers help build the nation into a rich empire, hitting thousands already in less than a year. And while that's happening, they realize that nations are still fighting over the colony while they continue growing. They end up decided to be paid to do these stuff, so they were obviously paid pretty well. And so they started their first business in a when the king of Plu asked to a bomb from these two countries. Luckily, they found bombs from old areas, so they can and copied them, so they did a lot of big damage. They have seen a lot of people live in this area, so they decided to attack this square, which apparently did pretty well. But not as bad as the one in Great Eve, which destroyed their entire, which was very horrible. It actually made lose a portion of their land. Everyone there was dying. It was a bumpy road, and it causes a huge problem, since they lost half the land, and only two people survived. And plants start regrowing, of course. Luckily, plants start regrowing after a while, and the dead bodies became cool fertilizers. But then I've decided to pull up another funny idea, and decided to ask him to attack Plu with more money to stop the advancing army. So they did. They thanks to them, they have been killing neighboring armies, assassinating. But when they were paid, but then they end up getting paid more to attack Great Ivy again. So with the much payer, they decided to cause a dam. They got a newly built dam right here because of the huge water going in. And when after closing it started flooding badly. It created a giant flood, of course, into the river, just hurting this inner colony, and it hurts the entire river, of course, because now a bunch of people have nowhere to live now, and now people are starting to blame it on the Great Ivy for their dam being destroyed, which caused their neighboring nations to declare war on them. And so police had to do a second round to finish it off. While that's happening, people later on, the great the King of War decided to create to make a dam out of this, only allow little bits of water for trading, and so land started getting refilled again, but and only giving land to him and other neighbors except for the Great Ivus. So in this case the area changed, and now it's like this now, which is not a lot, but it's quite something. And the rays created plants to help grow it, to create more, and that causes forests to be already made again. After that, the Great Ivy gets swarmed over. It looks like there's nothing they can do. Forecourt is still alive. And while that's happening, they never ever know what's behind all this, because they all became zombies. Look, for some reason, I don't know how. But a second round was created by one other person, and instead of names of the Great Hergé. They quickly rose to power. They quickly start creating babies, and they decided to give a bunch, and decided to give everyone here the lustful and fertility and attractive and regenerate health, and so and all of them got it. So all of a sudden they all end up, and luckily for them, they decided to create their own little garden. So they're able to make fruits. But to stop this freak spread that just happened, they marked it out, and Zonta reclaimed once again, but not happening. Anyways, so yeah, that's it for today, guys. only to another video, and right now they finally erased the zombies. And yes, there are new. And so, and luckily there's no more infected. And with that, a zombie virus has been avoided. And now with the the bigger population, they can finally make babies. And but then they found a rival nation wanted the same thing, so they attack it. They also attacked another nation. And with more population, they can quickly start attacking. And now back to the fighting. Now there's a fight between these two nations. Now there's What's the great group of fighting with? Oh, against the great OCs. Yeah, and they got no king. There's only 2 people. Let's see what's in the map. Oh, this nation. This nation was resentful. And they quickly started putting themselves together. But sadly, this cannot change the outcome of the war because it was too late. And yes, the P hair Govy still continues to attack copycatters. And now with the chill population, they can all relax. Anyways, after hanging 1,000 people and realizing there's and start discovering more things, they feel like it's time to go back on the business. The war's getting attacked, and right now the war is having a lot of people, and they want to attack these nations and betray them, so they decided to destroy them entirely. But they don't have enough land now due to the high rates. So instead, they decided to flee. They made deals with the PP hair Govy to replace all of their men that they got left. With the other cities or surrounding cities, like say, and also kidnap some people. And then to head to the whole hair Govy to change their identity. to change their identity. Yeah. To yeah. And so uh, after this, they finally got allowed into the nation. Now this made the Paul here realize that they need to now create a bigger garden, and so now they created more gardens. They realized that if they also allowed to spread more seeds and created a bunch of. They created like another wall that away from the capital city, known to be a food district. And food district, the food district became has been a pretty good thing now because now they could have a thing. Now they have more job opportunity, and they have a larger army. They can create more food, and they can also go back to their and finally start. They decided to start second their plan by protecting a wall. They attack neighboring stuff. Bombardments was created to stop the fighting. This causes many things like a bombardment in the wars, and with a huge and that since a lot of nations are trapped in the older walls, they decided to realize the opportunity and then it got hot. So now people wants to how do I say this? To have more of their fun, and with many religions, and now with more people, there's new religions, new denominations actually, because they're now known as Orthodox, Notch, and Protestant Notch. This is their part of, since there's more variety of Notchianism. So now with that, a lot of that can cause a great wars of religions, which luckily didn't happen, but will happen soon. As we have seen, and with more and since then, things has been going pretty well actually. And I guess nothing bad have happened except for after the bombings. but now they have a huge problem now because I would like to say this, but there has been because the last one is the biggest one. You see, they realized how good the attack on the river dams, and they realized that a newly built international river that's already pretty good, but there has been a problem now because one of them there has been because due to this because they have to actually create some sort of to create a dam, because apparently we learned later. Welcome to another video, and right now there's been they're planning a terrorist attack on a dam, because this dam has been piling up since they have a lot more water. And that this later on causes, and that realizing that what they have done, so they have to also create another one. But now this is the funny part. Now with the understandings, now they decide to bomb it to do the biggest terrorist attack that they have done every time, and it started. Constant bombing causes dams to destroy. To get damage, so they can get ready for the great bomb. They first created the first one, second one. They didn't do anything. So then they created a huge bombardment in the area where they finally got it out, and it just started. Due to this, a huge amount of flooding has began, swallowing tiny nations. And due to nations being closely decimated, many houses were destroyed. Luckily, it started to lower down due to this, creating this. Now with that later on causes the water causes more water and warmer temperatures, causing temperate biomes, causing more temperate biomes. Like this one over here. And so they say they gotta create another district. And so they did. Which is known as the Carpenter district. They also need to create another district for ports stuff. So they got a little amount of people here to form to create a grand district for stuff. Luckily, in this area, there's been a lot of pigs. I think you guys haven't noticed. And it was the newly built Protestant notches. The Protestant notch has been doing, and this causes Orthodox March to decline a bit. But when more immigrants equals to more people exploring, and this causes a huge growth for the Orthodox notches. More Orthodox notch decided to to a how do I say this? Make get more power and more religious identity. So then the Pope, well, should be the Pope with the Orthodox notches. Look at this. New notch founded in Okaka. Where's Okaka? Okaka. And somewhere here, not there. Ibani. Nothing, but luckily, but then got Imperium. This nation decided to hack this, so in retaliation, they did the most peaceful thing, which is to break this lava pool that growed a bit bigger, and this causes a city to get engulfed by it. And this also causes creative volcanoes. So yeah. Meanwhile, this area, they don't know how to drain it, and people are getting scared because apparently there's been a sinking or slowly are still coming in. And so they decided to create a wall to defend themselves from it. But then there's a big problem with it, because now there's a route where someone can take control over. So that can cause a bit of a problem. And the problem could happen. And when the problem happens, it doesn't tend to go well. But luckily, nothing really bad has really happened, and yeah. At this point, someone the poet Higuro decided to create a national river known as the Grand Canal of the Grand Canal of Pohirgovi. So I don't think it's a canal, I think it's just a river. But I like to call it a canal for some reason. And right after after annexing one of a small colony, they can continue it, and they continue it the area all the way to here. And right now people are And at this point now, there's a bunch of people hungry now. But luckily, they've been awaiting this, and they created a huge stock of sacrifices that causes a lot of sheep to burn, a lot of sheeps to be created, and this causes a better way to hunt. Since and now with more food, now with more food, more people are happy. This is the one, two. This is welcome to another video, and today this is gonna be a video about the religion right now. Due to the Orthodox Church has grown exponentially now, even though they're covered, but this can also cause a bit of a problem because they're on the weep moon. Weep moon is because a lot of them are stuck in the weak moon around Ezov, Isaac and Pumaku, and this causes and they're covered by the Catholics, New Notch, and so this can cause a bit of a problem, and so a lot of them are and in order to make sure the New Notch stays alive, they hires a bunch of priests, a bunch of missionaries around the world to show them to talk about their beliefs. These missionaries, I guess, did something, and so they can spread, so they don't have to be, and also so they won't be unwelcomed, and they can be welcomed by other nations since they haven't been welcomed since they're a minority religion. And they have just hit 1,000, and so they appear to have been wondering what to do. Luckily, they already hit 1,000 already, and they're still being blessed with sheeps. But these sheep are kind of limited due to the growing amount. So they just ended a war of religion. So they really need to think about adding priests, and they don't know where to put their priest at. And so they check. What area? Well, that same thing, a dilemma was happening. A huge thing has been going on where a lot of people are moving away from the south. Apparently, due to being afraid of, because they're getting scared of because they're getting intimidated by the Paul Haragrovi, who's asserting their dominance. And so what's the best way of preaching? By preaching that part. There have been a preaching, so they moved their way from islands to areas like this. And Paul Haragrovi has are right now in a war. So yeah. Luckily Bulgaria will not lose the war. Because of the dominance, obviously. And they still wanted this war to happen still. And so more and more, luckily now they could look and meanwhile, while that's happening, the Uchiharu have now started to attack, have started to get back to their old stuff back, and now they're anyways. So let's see how things are doing now. There's nothing. What happened? What have they done wrong? They have been. What to do? And the Protestant Lodge hasn't been international, and they realize the problem. The problem is that there's just too many of them, and looking to the peer pressure, they realize what to do now. They realize that they can just create a new colony instead. They said no Catholics, but that doesn't mean no Orthodox, they realize. And so they created and due to the huge pressure, and now they don't know what to do about this, and that causes scared due to bombings around New Notch kingdoms. So far, but they haven't get bombed yet, which must be a good thing. Means that they're in the clear. So they started to multiply. Due to a huge and due to this, there has been and due to that fear, people they decided to just screw this. It's not like this part is useful anyway, so they cut themselves out, and made it forbidden for anyone here. And I don't really care too. So during these times, the new notch has been multiplied. So due to this, the new notch, the Orthodox has been multiplying their power in the area, and that actually helps them not being alone anymore. And the notch, and now due to this going on, now Protestant notches, and now Protestant notches doesn't care about them because they're still a minority, not a majority. So Orthodox notches has been multiplying and multiplying. and now they're gangs, and now they've gotten so large that they are pretty much, and they're getting a bit bigger now. They went halfway to 2,000 because of their huge majority. And now they are getting closer and closer every day, getting closer, coming a notch, and it also got dark, pretty dark actually. And now, but then more notches are now approaching, and that causes a new problem, and that is where the Midnight Massacre happened. That night, many new notch has been murdered mercilessly. Because they're not Protestant. This is the last video for today, and right now the Great Hero Grave, and right now they have been and right now they haven't been too well against the things. Right now, he has become part of the Turtle Union. I think you haven't noticed. Yeah, and right now those districts are growing and growing and growing, and they created a second wall. And this is the last major wall we're gonna have. The rest is not part of the walls anymore. Right now, and due to and after realizing a new problem, how people are threatening them, they have just been multiplying. They decided to form their own nation, and which apparently they have supported, and now they hit 2,000. Oh, so close. But this also doesn't mean, that's just the beginning of their new plan. Because with the new launch, they decided to grow their stuff, their religion more openly now, since they're now notches. And move on. Anyway, and this part is still part of notches due to people still getting bombed by the Protestant notch nations. So yeah. And also Paul Hargreaves just started becoming new notch, and they're just starting to realize that, so they end up like, screw it, and they started to also expand their beliefs now, I guess. In order to do this, they decided to create built more people around here, which kind of worked, I guess. Again, that also, but the problem is not just, but there's a minority, so I don't know. And so we got many. And so there. And so their new notch just continues to grow. But sounds like it's not going so well until they make a deal. And this is the worst deal ever. They think about pushing them back into the main two islands. And this is how it goes. Number one. It was just a normal day in the dark until there's been bombings all of a sudden over all Notch. A bunch of ports were getting destroyed, and an alarm from saying for all new notches to get out of this area or get bombed. And a lot of people got scared, so they all went back. People who are still there got ultimately decimated by this huge. People keep running away. Huge statues of them got destroyed. Fountains, everything. And what could they do? This wasn't created by the government, actually. It was created by another group. So they can't really do anything. And trust me, they're as shocked as what you'll think. They end up destroying everything. Everything I tell you. Many notches were destroyed. And more have moved away from the area. Kids. No one was safe. Not even kids were safe from this. Many people need and a lot and yeah, the second part here, the entire area was bombarded. Look at this. Growing. And a lot of new notches have died during that battle. And so a lot of them move away. And what could they do? They were blockade. And they said the last warning that now whoever's still new notch is now gone. And this is what happened. They sent nukes. They nuked everything here. People bombed. The bombing had gone so bad that even snows were gone. And the government cannot do anything because they can't find who was in charge of this. Because the broadcasting wasn't on video. It was on hacked videos that got hacked. no one was safe. And a lot of people cannot even witness what has happened. And because how bad this has been, how destructive they have just witnessed. And so the notch have lost, the new notch has lost exponentially, and even the some Protestant got caught in the fire, in the crossfire. And so now and after this, they finally spread their power all over the world. The new notch also did the same thing in a larger scale, creating this created more people, and yeah. I guess it grew a bit, and it got, and with the newly built notches, it grown a lot actually. It's grown exponentially large, and the ones that and new notches, and yeah. Still though, the Orthodox were too shocked to even do anything about it. And so now it was split, and now as soon as the wires from the great terrorist attack evaporated back to their average form, I guess a little bit only in the mainland, it became they decided to split. There's, how do you say this? There is instead a large portion has been gone, and now new notches, and now the overall decided not to spread anymore as much as the Protestant has been starting to do now. So now after hearing this, they're like, okay, you're lost, and they end up creating how do I say this? Making their own started to expand their stuff. The broken ends. And now what's left of the old ones were in internment camps that has been and what has been left of the new notches in the other parts were not that good. They have been split up into many parts, and now they still getting bombed, but not as lot as before. Actually, pretty lot. Right now, a bunch of people are, and the population has grown exponentially now, into the hundreds already, rebuilding themselves. And so yeah, and due to the growth So I don't know what's gonna happen next. But right now they are. But how do they? But it's still getting intact. The two religions are still intact together, discussing what just happened. And right now they have been, and they've already rebuilt a new one. But still, the evil Paul hero is still doing a bit of guerrilla attack on the new notch area. Yeah. But not in, like, in the more developed area. Mostly in the non-developed area. Like here. And so yeah, and after a while the plants start growing back. About time so they can start making babies. So yeah, and
friend is back.
And they end up dying. So that's it for today, and hopefully you like and subscribe. Bye.